Welcome to the October edition of the Tough Love Arena State of the Game stream. I am Paul, your host and one of the co-creators of Tough Love Arena, and I'm here to tell you everything about the state of the game. What's going on this month, October, what happened last month, September, what stuff are we planning for next month, November, and everything in between, and at the end we'll have a Q&A. So let's go ahead and jump in. And I have the wrong thing focused. There we go. First, the past. What did we do in September? I had COVID. I think I was sick during last day of the game. Combination of the last day of the game was pushed a week late because we were still at PAX West during the first week of the month, and I got COVID. So, not to overshare personal details, but I didn't have a lot of working time last month due to travel and sickness. But I'm definitely feeling better now. And we got some good stuff done. So we finally shipped jump cancels after many, many months of anticipation. And part of that, I also adjusted parry windows. We could talk about that later during Q&A if people are interested. But I view them as sort of hand in hand. I have been making small incremental improvements to training mode. A change I made a couple months ago where I wrote a little bit of information on the box in text sort of opened the floodgates for me of oh, that's a great way that I can surface a lot of information to people rather than just trying to rely on colored boxes. So I've been slowly adding more information there. Finally fixed this desktop issue that's been going on since May. So now there's just one possible. When I say download for the free desktop version at download.toughlovearena.com, there's one version for Mac and one version for Windows. For a while there were two on accident, and if you download those, they will update consistently. So that should fix some of the auto-updating issues people have been having. A really cool one was lobby nicknames. The whole reason why you can't have, just to be clear, the whole reason why you can't set your name and why you have to choose Giant Mushroom 0059 or something is because of moderation. We don't have the bandwidth or budget to moderate, and if people start abusing the system and signing up for accounts with slurs and promotion emails as their name and all that junk, I didn't want to deal with it. So that's why the one way you can change your name is if you've won in a tournament. I know who you are. There's only a dozen of them at this point, and if you do something sketch, I can just ban you. But it wasn't something I wanted to be constantly keeping up with. However, lobbies give us a opportunity where you essentially have a localized authority, and that is the host. And if the host doesn't like your name, you can boot it. And the lobbies are also not public. They're all invite only, right? So if you hop onto Tough Love Arena the game and you try and play against a random person, you don't have to worry about running into a slur. There should only be people that you know, quotes, right? And now, with the ability to set these nicknames, it makes it so much easier to run events, to have a casual stream lobby, to have people spectating the game and know who people are. So very excited to have that. It was just sort of a recent ding of oh, we can add this here. We can add nicknames to the lobby without breaking any of the problems, while still respecting the issues that I had with lobbies in the first place, or with names. So bleh. Really happy to get that out. I'm sure there'll be some minor polish I need to do and stuff, but for now the name cap is 16 characters, but yeah, let me know how it works, how it does or does not work. And lastly, proxies. We used to have a proxy URL called beefnoodlestew.site, and the renewal came up, and it went from $5 to $40, and I was I'm not willing to pay $40 for something that I don't think gets used. So I didn't pay, and it lapsed, and it went back into the registrar. And then someone reached out to me and saying, hey, I used to use that proxy. That was the way I played at school. What happened? So, and I didn't realize that. That was wonderful to hear that it was working for someone. So I've now set up two different ones that people can try out. The mirror one is simply a subdomain, so that one is basically free forever because I'm going to continue paying for toughlovearena.com. And then toughlove.space is just a random one that was on super sale for $4. So if these get blacklisted, we can always buy more really cheap ones. But it will probably change over time, especially if I keep buying these cheap ones on sale. So in the meantime, If you're ever in doubt, just go to our About page. Now there's a section where we list all the different URLs. So yeah, lots of cool stuff. For what was effectively half a month, really impactful stuff got done. The monthly survey, which I forgot to do for September, but we did it for October. Meaning, we surveyed people on their experience of September. And I'm proud to report that the two most important graphs, how fun is TLA and how easy is TLA, are still very high. These are the most important to me. It's still very likely to recommend to, or very likely to have people come back. That's nice. Very likely to recommend to beginners. And also, I guess I forgot this slide, but pretty likely to recommend to experienced players. Just some other trends that I thought I could start including, because it's just too laborious to share all the charts. But all the characters rated above average in strength, all the characters rated above average in fun. These are two very important metrics to me. I got a lot of positive feedback on the characters and themselves about jump cancels, about saying how excited they were about a particular option. Really cool that this character could do this now. I got a lot of negative feedback about beef. We'll circle back to that later. And I got a lot of very nice comments, especially in the end where it said, is there anything you want to tell the devs? So I always read these, but I just wanted, since I already had this slide now, I wanted to shout it out in particular. Thank you. We read your compliments, and it's very kind. It's very appreciated. Another thing I figured I'd do to summarize, because I got a lot of notes in the character sections, and I really tried to read them this time and go through with a fine-tooth comb, because it's been 2 months. And so this is what I'll vaguely break down as... you can't see that because of the picture. Let me just full screen that real quick. But of the things that people brought up, I just want to reassure you or let you know that some of these things are on my radar, and I agree with the complaints, and I plan to address them in one way or another. Redesigning Onion is much lower priority. I don't have great options in mind, but I saw some lukewarm comments, and I admit it's probably the one that I'm most lukewarm about. Meanwhile, the not gonna do is full of requests that people had that I am ignoring. But a lot of them showed up more than once, so I thought it'd be fun to include them and explicitly say that no, I will not be removing neutral block, one of the main things that the game is designed around, just so that it would buff Garlic's cross-ups. So sorry, whoever said that. I mean, I know who said it, but I'm not gonna out you or anything. So feel free to refer back to this later in the VOD if you're curious. But the main ones to me that is on my mind is I think SWAT has gotten a little too bad as an anti-air. Meat damage is obviously high. Air Lemon has problems. Being hard to anti-air was a oversight during testing. A lot of people felt really negative about Pork's empty jump, and I think it could stand to be a little bit better. And not being super satisfied with that. And now we can talk about the present. So, some of this is covered by the last slide, but what's the stuff that we're working on now? For me, it's the first two. I'm working on jump cancels, following through and addressing these little balance concerns, gaps that were made in gaps that happened in testing, especially around hurt boxes, and taking some of this feedback into account. And the other balance changes I mentioned about rice and meat. And there's this other thing on the screen. I don't know what that means. But I need to... One second. Let's just go here. Okay, cool. So, anyways, where were we? Next we can talk about the future. And, okay, for people who don't understand or people who watch the VOD and are confused, Onion Drip is done. I just hit the push button. It should go live at some point during Q&A. So let's get through this real quick to get to the Q&A. What's coming up next? The Halloween tournament. It is going to be the last Friday of October during the normal TLG time slot. Same rules as our past skin tournaments. So if you enter, you get one skin guaranteed. If you get top 8, you get all 6. If you've already gotten all 6 in the past, there's not planned any additional prizes for you. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Maybe you can pick a friend to get your reward or something. I don't know. And for anyone curious, it is the same skins as last year. So this is your chance to get them again. And starting on Monday, I will, halfway through the month, basically 2 weeks before the tournament, I will set the skins as the default to get everyone in a spooky mood and unlock them for everyone for all game modes. So everyone gets to play around with the skins and casual and everything for a little while before you play in the tournament and figure out which one you want to keep. We don't have a link yet because me and the moderators are still talking about some fine details, but expect that to come out in the next week or so. And you can start signing up. Other things I plan to do in October is, again, some of the gameplay balance stuff I mentioned. I'm currently in the process of redesigning Caber Toss, so if you want to learn more about that, you can join our Patreon. I believe the current version is on Canary as we speak. And lastly, I want to catch up on a lot of miscellaneous bug reports and feature requests. There were a couple of really good ideas in the feedback form that I've written down. So I plan to check those out and maybe get to them during dev streams in the next couple of weeks. And lastly, for my larger project, now that lobby names are done and the desktop thing is fixed, I really want to focus on mobile ports. So that's it. And now we are at the Q&A. And let's also just real quick see when it goes live. So starting now, I will start. Actually, let me just give you a little tour. Let me give you a little tour. So, because it's exciting to announce during stream, but I also don't want people to just, tab away. This looks updated because it's my local host, by the way. I don't want people to tab away just because they're curious. So, Blue Onion is now called Midnight Onion. The polka dots have been replaced by Green Onion Onion. That has a nice little fade. The plaid has gotten a little bit more sophisticated. Ghost now has a cool blue trim that I think looks a little better in a subtle way. Rainbow has some really pretty, what do you call them? The after images, the onion layers. We still have the the awful realistic one. And now Galaxy Onion. So if we go over to Notebook. Get some nice rainbow styles. And likewise the Arcade Onion. And there you go. So that'll be up for everyone to play and experiment with in Training Room in probably just another few minutes. So I will start reading questions, starting with Rose's question saying, I wrote about throw versus throw. So if you want to ask a question, if you already asked it before, please repost, and I will get to it in just a moment. And we can just pop on over to the Paul cam. So, Rose S. Hi. I wrote about throw versus throw interactions. I noticed that counterplay to Caber is very unintuitive for newer players. They'll throw my Caber, but then I just delay my Caber and beat their throw. Do you have any thoughts about this interaction? Yes. Throw versus throw on the mirror of the mirror scenario of just throw versus throw, where they have the same startup and the same active. I'm currently okay with just the second one winning. Again, I want it to be clear that the way to beat throws is by attacking, and I've explored a lot of different options like teching, and currently I'm happy with that one. However, for Caber in particular, which is a little less obvious because I believe it is more active than normal throws, I saw your comment, Rose, and I'm thinking, when you posted it earlier, I think in Discord, and my current thought process is to make Caber throwable. I might just make Caber explicitly lose to throws at all times. Then maybe tempting you with the option of, I'm playing against Pork, I'll do Wake Up Throw. But, because to me it's still a similar sort of hard call out. And then Pork can go for a meaty. So that is one idea I have, but not planning on changing anything too much more radically than that. Bum, 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 bum. Grum clarifies lots. Also, have to say it for the record. Lots of very nice compliments for Amy. Again, wonderful work by Amy on the skins. Really crammed to get it done in time for State of the Game. I'm very grateful. We're very lucky to have you, Amy. Grum wants to clarify in that last question. Throw versus throw interaction is unintuitive for new players, even just for normal throws. And a frowny face? Hard to tell with the little Twitch square. That's fair, Grum. I don't have a great answer for it. I don't disagree, but I don't have a great answer, and it isn't super high priority for me that I want to like devote a lot of brain time to trying to design a solution. But it's good to hear this reinforcement. Ellington Reborn says, Paul, if you ever need help with the second Halloween tournament, I can help you TO and com. Yeah, let's talk in DMs. Paul, how will Halloween... Charge asks, Paul, how will Halloween be seated? I leave that up to my very capable TOs. Yeet Deck says, turn Pork Empty Jump into a fast fall. I already think I know what I want to do with Empty Jump. I'm thinking about taking a suggestion that I saw of basically just removing the landing recovery. The problem with fast falls, I still want it to be pretty anti-airable. But the intention with these jump cancels that then got messed up by like a very last minute change that I didn't test because I'm a human and I make mistakes, is that like a lot of anti-airs should work against both. Some anti-airs won't, like parries, but like there should be a basic anti-air move you can use against both options for every character. And if I make it too much faster, I'm afraid that wouldn't be true. So experimenting with ways of, for example, if I remove the landing recovery, then he's still at least in the Pork is still in the air for most of the same time. So stuff like that. Acid says, could you make Caber throw unthrowable so it always beats normal throw? That's true. It could go the opposite. Caber could always beat normal throw. That is another possible. Well, no, because I mean the idea is, I guess yeah, Caber could. Throws would have to be coded so that they could be command throwed, but not normal thrown. Something like that. Snadroman asks, Paul, there are 4 Mac builds. I'm going to download.toughlovearena.com. I'm clicking on GitHub releases. I think there's mac.zip and there's .dmg. The block map doesn't do anything because it's kilobytes. App images for Linux. So there might be 2, but I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. It's just like a zip versus a DMG installer. But I'm pretty sure it's actually the same file. Whereas the Windows problem I was having before was one was like just a standalone exe with no other files that was like half a gig, and the other one was an installer that would create like a folder in your program files with all the assets in it. And that's the part that I fixed. But if you find meaningful differences between the 2 Mac ones, please drop that as a bug report in the Discord. Zoe corrects, it is not more active, they're equally active. Okay, cool, good to know. Hard to remember sometimes because, for example, I'm also in the process of redesigning Caber, where that is not necessarily the case anymore. But, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Dawn at Night says, are you planning on changing meat damage at all? Yes, sorry if you came in late, I discussed that during 2 different slides during the presentation. Yes, I am planning to address it in one way or another. Charge says, Paul, will meat damage likely be shifted close to how it was prior to links or lower? I don't think it needs to go lower than it used to be. The problem was just, I liked the damage where it was before. Where before is before the links, which at this point is several months ago. And my problem was just I felt like the meat combo variety was kind of stale. And that's what the links were meant to do. But sure enough, when you add more hits to a combo, it does more damage. Funny that. And despite my efforts to add more scaling, and I did reduce damage on all the moves, it still was a net gain. And I'm not yet sure. I see the pros and cons of both just reducing damage further. I see pros and cons to removing the links. I haven't made up my mind on anything yet, which is part of why there hasn't been a quicker solution. Like a lot of times when these things come up, if I have an idea, if it's something quick, I'll push out a solution in a day. But this one does not have an obvious solution to me. I've seen some of the recommendations. I hear them. So my mission for October is to actually dedicate some time to it, and test some stuff out. Blue Icy says, "Do you know if Beef's jump cancel will be tweaked for the Halloween tournament?" Absolutely. I plan to address all the jump cancels within the next, let's say, 2 weeks. And so the tournament's at the end of the month. I definitely know what it's been doing to TLG. You don't have to worry about that. Easton says, "Could you talk about your opinion on Onion countering Air Lemon and then being punished by the Beef?" I don't want to get too deep into that because Air Lemon will probably change a lot. But the whole point was that I'm okay with Onion not really being able to productively counter Air Lemon because, in Onion's case in particular, you can beat Air Lemon with Hop Kick. If anyone saw my matches on stream from TLG, it's kind of an unintuitive answer because it looks like Lemon should hit you, but Hop Kick is coded to be projectile invulnerable because all the projectiles before this were grounded. And that was just more reliable than like trying to Finnick with hitboxes. So you can just Hop Kick through the Air Lemon if you get the read on that. Retro says, "Do you mind if I help TO at the Halloween tournament?" DM me, Retro. We'll figure that out offline. But thank you. Rose says, "Silly interactions aside, are you satisfied with jump cancels and what you want them to do?" More satisfied than not. There's obviously been unforced errors in terms of balance around Air Lemon, and I'm not 100% sold with some of the designs. Like Onion Long Jump was very much a sort of a last-minute replacement, let's say. I really like myself when I'm playing. I like how they feel that they give me what feels like multiple options to approach in neutral. Jury is still out on whether or not they violate the beginner aspect of the game too much. So that is a concern I've had before I push them. It's a concern I still have. So I'm not confident enough to say it's like a complete slam dunk yet, but people seem generally pretty positive. I feel like it is, a net improvement, and doesn't get too much in the way of, the obvious beginner path. And the important thing is it giving each character sort of interesting decisions. And I feel like that's the case for, noodle and rice and garlic. It's not the case for beef because it's strictly better. It's not the case for pork right now because it's strictly worse. So that's the stuff that still needs ironing out. Snatcher says, "Make throw versus throw, have them hug." That's kind of similar to teching. Grum says, "What do you want for Christmas?" It's never too early to start shopping. Probably some more jigsaw puzzles. I got really into jigsaw puzzles about a year ago. With Amy, we did some jigsaw puzzles, but they're kind of hard to buy because if you want like a really nice one, it's a lot of money, and it's something you only like do once. I don't know. It's still like a great dollar to hour, prospect ratio, but yeah, that's the sort of thing that I don't like day-to-day buy for myself, but it'd be nice to have more of jigsaw puzzles. Horson, yep, DM me about the tournament. That'd be great. Rose says, "Any hints or spoilers on how you're adjusting Air Lemon?" One, it needs to be easier to anti-air. That's a given. I'm planning on making it more like, number one, it has to be easier to anti-air. Number two, I'm planning on changing the angle. I want to experiment with either making the angle very sharp, so it functionally doesn't really have any more range than jump kick, but then I worry about its utility. Another option I'm considering is making it sort of that bears testing is lob the lemon upwards, so it's almost more like a really janky soup in that way, where it's more of a setup and your opponent has a lot of time to answer it. It's not really a pressure thing, so that would make sure it definitely doesn't compete for design space with normal jumping, But the question is just, can I design something that feels fun, that feels usable without being oppressive, that doesn't, make Noodle obsolete, that kind of stuff. So we'll see. Charge, thoughts on giving away for Airloom to still mix up anti-air typings? Again, with anti-air timings, I wanted to mix it up enough to beat parries, but I want Beast's Hurtbox to be in the correct place, that you just need to learn how to press flick at one timing, and it will hit. I don't want jumping to be that strong. Anti-air should be good, anti-air should be valuable. And because you are getting a combo off of it, it can't cheat. Drill, Rice's drill gets to cheat. Rice's drill gets to cheat and be like very hard to react and very hard to anti-air, because Rice, what does Rice get off of it? A tiny bit of damage and point blank range, which is usually not something that Rice wants. So there are times and places for that, and people are using it for like Oki setups after throws and stuff, which is cool. But Air Lemon can't be hard to anti-air, else it's just too oppressive. And then if I just make it weaker, then it's just the same as jump attack. So Moshpox says, "Are you opposed to throw being throwable? And if so, why? It seems like an intuitive way to handle that interaction." The problem, Moshpox, is how do you... Two problems. One, the way the game thinks is it just says on this frame, player 1 is in the middle of throw active frames, and on this frame, player 2 is during startup frames, which means they're throw invulnerable. Nothing happens. Step frame. Now both characters are active. Who wins? One way to win is that I could program the startup to be throwable. That is something I could do. That is an incremental solution, but it still comes back to the original issue, which is what happens if two people throw on the first frame? What's supposed to happen? And the options are either add teching, which I tried and I just don't like how it looks or feels in this game. I'm sure I could spend a lot more time on it, but it just doesn't seem, the juice doesn't seem worth the squeeze. Option 2 is you pick a random winner, like some games do. And even if you make the random deterministic, blah, 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 don't have to worry about rollback issues, like, that doesn't really feel good, right? And option 3 is they both whiff, which is what we have right now. That, to me, is my favorite of those three options. Grum says, "Paul, if I had homework, would you do it for me? For the right price, maybe. I have moonlit? I have moonlighted as a tutor in the past, so depends." Rose says, "What do you think about RC adding scaling as a way to rebalance damage?" I worry about making RC too bad. On combos. Like, our RC will still have value in, like, conversions and making things safe, but I like there being a time and a place for the, dump meter, do the long combo, and we already nerfed that by having the meter gain. And you already hit such scaling at that point. I don't know if that would effectively balance the things that I want to be balanced. It might make some damage way lower and other damage perfectly fine. I don't see that fixing any of the issues that I have right now. But interesting suggestion. Grum says, "Did you remember to sign up for the Street Fighter 6 beta?" I think so. I think I did. I don't remember. Rose says, "Did you know that throws can trade with Frenzy and Chop?" That is not supposed to be the case. I think the thing that's supposed to... I think on the active frame they're supposed to become unthrowable, and you're only throwable during, like, startup armor, but not active armor. But if not, that's a bug. Please put it in the general bugs channel in the Discord. Thank you, Rose. Rose says you can be air lemon with jump and hop kick, lol, but air lemon is just unreactable. Yeah, air lemon needs work. Chrome says, do you think you can safely ignore all of my questions? Yeah. Easton says, I've asked this before, but for onions jump, any chances of getting it? No push boxes, but also adding hitbox on the backside only, so you can use an empty jump to throw mix up. Two thoughts. One, I hesitate to make that cross up because part of me actually wants to make all jump attacks cross up, or, you know, remove the push box scenario. Thing number two is then if I do that, I have to check if that becomes too difficult to anti-air. I think some characters might really struggle to anti-air it on wake up, which I guess they don't have to. If it's like a meaty cross up, you just have to hold that type of thing, or you could try to do like the autocorrect or whatever. It is an idea, and it definitely would give the move more of a niche. Put it in future quests so I don't forget. I Yeet Deck says, I haven't played Vanilla Beef post JSS until just now. Why did you get 450 off of RC Ground Lemon? We are working on that. Rose says, can you show us some of your jigsaw puzzles? Not worth trying to do with the stream setup, but maybe I can share some photos in the Discord later. Retro says, still planning on making jumps cross up. Still TBD. Chrome says, can we do an entire jigsaw puzzle on the stream? Nope. Ishit asks, instead of air lemon, make beef jumps up and land with grill time. No, stop talking about grill time. Grum says, throwable on startup frames. Yes, please. And option 3, problem solved. So option 3 being they whiff if they're both active, but a second throw will lose. If people think that's better, I liked the second throw winning because that felt true to the rules that, you know, startup is throwable. But if that does feel kind of unintuitive, and if I'm getting this many voices and a rare series scrum question, I'll think about it. Put it in feature requests. ICL, could you make a channel point reward if you're doing our homework for 5 minutes? Yeah, probably for like 1,000,000 lemons. Rose says, I posted a bunch of funny frames in the Discord, but they do trade. Good to know. Thank you, Rose. I appreciate that. Oh, Onion's alive. Oh yeah, Onion should be alive for a while. And last question I'll answer, and then we'll check out Onion and I'll end the stream. Is there any chance that Buzzsaw causes soft knockdown on hit instead of how it resets to neutral? I don't understand what you mean. Dawn at Night. What does soft knockdown mean to you? Define that for me, and then I can answer your question. Because right now, it bops them away, right? But if they're airborne, I know it knocks down, and if they're grounded, I think it bops them away. So it resets to neutral. I guess it could force knockdown. That's still worse than like a normal jump into a combo. I think the concern was like when it forced. I think I tested this, and when it forced knockdown, it gave you enough time to set up another soup into another guaranteed buzz, and that felt a little too strong. Oh, stream chat, you're so funny. Okay, let me real quick check on my handy dandy release tab. There it is, 97. Oh, let's make sure it works. I mean, someone already complimented in chat. I think this is the first art update I've done in a long time where I didn't mess up and forget to upload the images, so that's good. Yeah. Okay. And then this is done. Refresh. Push this to default. Set live. Confirm. And then copy over the patch notes in Steam format. 097.0. All done. Layered onion. That would be funny, but we already have the Stripe naming convention elsewhere, so probably not. Growing with all these jokes. I have made the executive decision to call green onion onion. So, sorry Retro, but no. And that's the state of the game. Thank you everyone for stopping by. Definitely check out the Onion. Definitely drop all of your compliments in the Discord and in Amy's DMs. And thanks for playing the game as always. I think this is basically like the 3rd year anniversary of when we started work on it, and we're almost at 2 years of being live, which is pretty crazy. So, yeah, thanks for everything. Always a pleasure. I'm excited to get some gameplay improvements out. I'm really excited to get started on mobile in earnest, which is one of the big fish to fry. And I'm really excited about this Caber idea. Check that out on Patreon. So thanks everyone for stopping by, and I will probably see you on Wednesday for the regular developer stream. So, see you then.